A mind once capable of independent thought is now a willing participant in its own suppression. And when that happens, when people lose the very ability to imagine another way of living, does freedom even exist anymore? George Orwell's 1984 painted a grim picture of a dystopian future, one ruled by surveillance, propaganda, and total control of truth. It was fiction. But what if it wasn't? What if 1984 became reality? Would we even realize it? Or would we, like Winston, simply accept it as inevitable? Welcome to Parallel, a mix of storytelling and thought-provoking what-if scenarios, combining narrative fiction and analysis that includes real-world science, philosophy, and potential real-world implications. Don't forget to subscribe, like and comment so that you do not miss out on the next episode. Because, one reality, says T-Boom, is never enough.
I shouldn't be speaking like this. I know that. The telescreens are always listening, always watching. But I have to, before I forget what real thoughts feel like. Before I become one of them. It wasn't always like this, at least I don't think it was. There was a time when people could speak their minds. When words weren't rewritten overnight, when history wasn't erased as soon as it was inconvenient. Now, truth isn't something we find, it's something we're given. And it changes whenever the party says so. Every day I go to work. I sit in front of a screen and delete old newspaper articles, rewriting them to fit the new version of events. If a minister falls out of favor, he was never there. If a law changes, it has always been that way. Doublethink, it's what they call it. Holding two contradictory ideas at once and believing both. It used to feel wrong. Now I don't even know what wrong means anymore. Still dream sometimes though. Dreams of a world where people were free, where love wasn't something dangerous, where words meant what they were supposed to mean. But those dreams are fading. Soon I'll forget them too. Big Brother is watching. He is always watching.
We are always watching.
One of the most chilling aspects of Orwell's world was the constant surveillance. Telescreens monitored every move, microphones picked up whispers, and even a facial twitch could be enough to condemn someone. Today, while we don't have telescreens in every home, the reality isn't far off. CCTV cameras monitor us in nearly every public space. Smartphones track our locations, our conversations, even our interests. Social media algorithms build detailed profiles of our behavior, what we like, what we fear, even how we think. Governments and corporations harvest this data daily. Some argue it's for security. Others say it's a slow erosion of privacy, leading to a world where anonymity is extinct. And what happens when privacy is gone? When everything is monitored, then, much like in 1984, fear takes hold. When you know you're always being watched, you begin to police yourself. You stop speaking freely. You avoid dangerous thoughts. You conform. Not because someone forced you to, but because it's safer. In Orwell's world, truth was fluid. The party controlled information, rewriting history as needed. What was true yesterday might be false tomorrow. No one questioned it. They couldn't. Sound familiar? Fake news, deep fakes, and AI-generated misinformation blur the lines between reality and fiction. History is being rewritten in real time, depending on political or ideological narratives. And censorship is growing, with governments and corporations deciding what information is acceptable. We live in a time where facts are no longer neutral. They are weaponized or alternative facts are used. And when the truth is no longer stable, control becomes much easier. If reality can be rewritten at will, who holds the power? Those who write the narrative. In 1984, even thinking rebellious thoughts was dangerous. The thought police ensured that anyone questioning the party was silenced. Today, we don't have thought police, at least not officially, but censorship is creeping into every corner of modern society. Dissenting voices are shut down online, their platforms removed, their accounts banned. Certain opinions are labeled as dangerous, not debated, but erased. People lose jobs, reputations, even freedom for saying the wrong thing. Or even get 6 policemen visiting your house for something you said on a mum's WhatsApp group. This isn't limited to one country or one political ideology. It's happening everywhere. The world is moving toward an era where speech isn't free. It's conditional. In Orwell's 1984, control wasn't just about surveillance or censorship. It was about the mind. It was about shaping how people think, what they feel, and ultimately, who they are. And when you control the mind, you don't need chains or prisons. People imprison themselves. What happens to the human spirit when fear becomes a way of life? When every word, every action, every fleeting thought carries the risk of condemnation? At first, there is resistance. The mind rebels against control. It clings to independent thought, to memory, to truth. But over time, something shifts. When the cost of thinking differently becomes too great, survival demands adaptation. Conformity replaces curiosity. Silence replaces questions. Fear replaces freedom. This is the slow death of the individual. There is something profoundly unnatural about living in a world where truth is malleable, where trust is eroded, where even your own thoughts feel like a potential betrayal. In such a world, paranoia isn't a disorder, it's a survival mechanism. A constant, gnawing anxiety takes hold, the kind that lingers in the background of every interaction. Am I being watched? Did I say too much? Did I look the wrong way? In the end, the most effective form of control isn't external, it's internal. It's when a person no longer needs to be watched because they have already reshaped themselves into what is expected. And perhaps that is the darkest reality of all. Not that people are oppressed, but that they no longer realize they are. That they accept their condition, not with resistance, but with relief. If Orwell's warnings continue to unfold, what happens next? Does society push back? Or do we slip further into control, willingly surrendering our freedoms for convenience and security? There is a pattern to history. Freedom is hard-won, but easily lost. Every major society that embraced authoritarianism did so gradually. Rome, the Soviet Union, even modern nations today, none of them became oppressive overnight. It was always a slow process. The question is, where are we in that process? And if 1984 isn't just a book, but a roadmap, how long until the final page is written? Thank you so much for listening in to this episode of Parallel. The original idea for this episode came from my wonderful and beautiful wife. If you have an idea for a future episode, drop it in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as it really does help the channel grow its audience. Until the next episode, remember, one reality is never enough.